You're only as sick as your secrets. What is privacy in this no privacy new world? I'm going to read you my blog post for this week. And I'm currently balancing the selfie stick between my toes. Okay. I grew up in a family that said I love you a lot, every day. I love you was a truth, an apology, an afterthought, a team drill, and an aside. My idea of love was so skewed for so long. Despite being told I was loved, I was also yelled at, ridiculed, hit, neglected, and my voice and needs were diminished. There are so many adages in program that help me. Easy does it, one day at a time, this too shall pass. But the one most reflective of my adolescent years and my years as a drug addict is this one. You're only as sick as your secrets. I grew up in a family that was hyper private, and there were many secrets. Because of the unhealthiness and addictions, the way our family presented itself to the public versus what was really going on in the inner dynamic were two very different things. In my recovery from eating disorders and drug addiction, I came to know that we are only as sick as our secrets. My older sister recently wrote to me out of the blue and asked me to limit what I write about her in my essays on this blog. Unfortunately, I'm only able to do that within the confines of what would put her in danger, as I won't censor myself. I made that decision a long time ago. As a result of her request, I have to walk the fine line of trying to make a compassionate decision toward her, while also respecting my own needs, which were rarely acknowledged or met in my alcoholic home. I also have to be certain I'm not trying to control her or get back at her for things that happened when we were kids. I am currently crafting a response back to let her know that part of my healing process is writing about my experience in our home. Now, this is from my point of view, obviously. As we all know, there is our perspective, the other person's perspective, and the truth. I don't kid myself to think I remember things exactly as they were, only as I am. The letter from her got me thinking. While I don't want her to have anxiety or uneasiness about what I write, I can't make the promise that she wants. And I don't feel it's selfish. I feel it's evolved. It's a tough decision on my part. Part of the reason I feel confidently about telling her no is because of my own process of releasing my attachment to how I feel about how other people feel about me. Another saying in program is, what other people think about you is none of your business. I've intentionally surrendered so much around what I'm okay with people saying or knowing about me. In fact, I'd rather be the one to just lay down the cards and admit these are the things I've done, and thus others don't have the power over me to reveal seeming secrets. Fearlessness is a powerful tool. Being unafraid of judgment is dynamic. In an effort to put my money where my mouth is, the two most embarrassing acts I did while in my speed addiction are: I went to the bathroom next to a tree at a public park during the middle of the day in plain view of passersby. 2. I changed my pad in the passenger seat of my then boyfriend's truck at a gas station in front of his cousin. These memories make me feel a mixture of sheer horror and odd reverence. I was so fucked up, I just didn't give a fuck. I was also in a weird space of irreverence about the world. I was angsty and young, 18, and rebellious and pushing the limits on acceptable behavior. But I'd rather you hear it from me than an old drug buddy. In a way, I feel lucky that I grew up in an era predating social media. The lessons my daughter will learn will be steeper in some ways because everything is recorded for a sick kind of humiliating and fraternal posterity now. There are no photos or videos or Snapchats of me pissing aside a tree. But there are memories that grow fecund in the vacuum of our minds, and I suppose sometimes that's even more dangerous. I know that my teenage and early 20s drug addiction and eating disorders were a result, in part, of my formative years and the home I grew up in. This is really hard to read. For better or for worse, my parents' choices affected my 3 siblings and me. So did my choices. My behavior and repeated choice to use drugs and run around with shady people was difficult for my parents. I have compassion for them. In a way, I wouldn't mind if my mother wrote about what it was like to have a teenage drug addict living in her home. At least I would feel seen. I would feel she was processing through an important chapter in our shared lives. I would feel like it actually happened. But she is still in her own addictions. And if she did write something, I fear it would be in spite, and I would not be handled with kid gloves. And I guess that's what we all want, to be treated with gentleness. So I will do the best I can with my sister while still maintaining my boundaries. After all, I've learned to treat myself with the softness that I always wanted, and to allow people into my life who will treat me with fragility, not because I'm weak, because I'm strong enough to admit that I need love to be a verb and not just something you are told before bedtime. Thanks for listening.